Hello, YouTube. I was running recently in my town, and in front of somebody's house was a cloth banner attached to a metal hanger, and they had it in their flower garden in the display in the front of their house. And it caught my eye, and it said that in a world that you can be anything, be kind. And for some reason, that stuck with me. In a world where you can be anything, be kind. And then that reminded me of nice, where you'll hear uh, nice guys finish last. There's a difference between being kind and nice. So that sparked me to think and inspired this video. And I continued running down the sidewalk, and I was thinking about that being kind. And I don't think that's often talked about. And I think a lot of us know kind people. You can hear people talking about somebody else. Oh yeah, he was the nicest guy. They didn't say kind guy, but probably they were kind. Or yeah, she was so helpful, so pleasant to be around. Boy, she was what a nice lady she was or is. And so you just know when you're around somebody that has that about them. There's something about them that makes them attractive. And people who are genuinely kind versus somebody who is nice. And not long ago, well, maybe it's been about a year now, I discovered this book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. And so this was definitely a eye-opener for me and was very helpful, because for many years I didn't realize that I was a nice guy, according to this book. And nobody likes the nice guy or gal for many reasons. And for whatever reason the person is that way, their upbringing, whatever the case may be, they end up being nice. And sometimes they're not the ones pleasant around. And so this video is about kindness, and something that we can all ask ourselves: are we kind? Are you a kind person? I'm not so much a nice person anymore. I'm still a recovering nice guy. And I think I was thinking in my mind I was being kind, but I think I was being nice. And I even was been told by people, even when I was dating, by women, Jim, you're too nice. You're too nice, is what I was told. And in some ways that kind of hurts you, that you can actually be looked down upon because you're too nice of a person. But I can understand it. I can understand it now. And so I was looking online on kindness versus niceness. And there's a lot of videos out there that you can find that talk about the topic. And for men, this one was in regards to men that I found. It says that being a nice guy is when you try to please people because you fear them. Being kind is when you try, versus now being kind is when you try to help people because you love them. You're not a people pleaser. That's what the nice guy does. And I think that's what makes them unattractive, that they have some type of an agenda and they're being nice for a certain reason. And it said, over time, a nice guy will end up being misused, overworked, and underappreciated because he will be a slave to manipulative people. Maybe some of you guys can relate to that out there if you're a nice person, and how you oftentimes can get taken advantage of. And there's something in you that just, for some reason, you just don't put your foot down, whatever the case may be. Continuing on, his niceness flows from his fear of people's opinions. Thus, he never balances out his niceness with the fierceness, correction, and discipline that loving men also need to give at times to other people. Continuing on for nice guys. Being nice is when you allow other people to disrespect you because you are weak. Being kind is when you allow people to disrespect you because you are strong. You allow them to do it. And then some men will express extreme passivity or extreme aggression because they don't stand up for themselves. And then they have this passivity about them, or all of a sudden they just blow up out of nowhere. The nice guy will allow disrespect because he's afraid to fight back, or will fight back because he is trying to get revenge. Maybe this is resonating with some people. I don't know. Being a nice guy is when you allow someone to mistreat you and you only ask them to stop. Now, being a kind man is when you don't allow people to mistreat you and you make them stop. Being a nice guy is when you allow people to use you and you end up spoiling them. Now, being kind is when you do help people, provide for people, but you also teach them how to provide for themselves. Being nice is when you think other people are more important than you because you don't know your worth. I used to be that way. I used to put myself below everybody. Why? I don't know. I used to think people were better than me. Now, being kind is when you treat people as more important than yourself because you are practicing humility. And that reminds me of a quote I remember hearing many years ago by C.S. Lewis. It says, humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's just thinking of yourself less. And that stuck with me. So we have to know our worth as men. And why I used to think that way, I don't know. I didn't really truly know my own worth for years. That's a shame, you know? But I know it now. Boy, do I know it now. Nice versus kind. Continuing on. Now, this is a blanket for men and women. And they broke it down by different things: motivation, authenticity, impact, and boundaries. Motivation, kindness is typically driven by genuine care, empathy, and a desire to help others. It stems from a deep sense of compassion and willingness to make a positive impact. Being nice, on the other hand, may be driven by social expectations or a desire to be liked. It can sometimes be more superficial and focus on maintaining positive interactions without necessarily coming from a place of true empathy. Authenticity. Kindness often comes from an authentic and sincere place within yourself. It reflects a genuine concern for others' well-being and a desire to contribute positively to their lives. Now, niceness can sometimes be more surface level and may involve putting on a pleasant facade without necessarily reflecting one's true feelings or intentions. Impact. Kindness tends to have a deeper and lasting impact on people's lives. Acts of kindness can be transformative and create a positive ripple effect. It can bring about meaningful change, foster connections, and uplift individuals emotionally. Niceness, while still pleasant and polite, may not have the same lasting impact or depth of connection. Boundaries. That's a big one. Kindness can involve setting healthy boundaries when necessary. It may involve having difficult conversations or providing constructive feedback for the well-being of others. And I think most people appreciate that when you're honest with them and direct with them. Yep. Instead of just trying to tell people what they want to hear and just smooth things over because you're afraid to start some type of a conflict or make waves or anything. You're just trying to keep things nice and calm. Niceness, on the other hand, may avoid conflict. There it is. Or uncomfortable situations, potentially leading to a lack of authenticity or a failure to address underlying issues. So I think that's important, that authenticity and being true to yourself and speaking up. And that's being kind versus the being Mr. Nice is not a good thing in the long run. Let's see what other things that I find. For those that have who have a Christian background, it's interesting that in the scriptures it talks about kindness, the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Being nice is not one of the fruits of the Spirit. That's in Galatians 5. Ephesians 4, be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving each other. Let's see, what else did I find? Proverbs 19. What is desirable in a man is his kindness. Proverbs 19. Let me repeat that. What is desirable in a man is his kindness. Now, what's the world find desirable in a man? His money, his looks, his height, those kind of things. Very rarely do we look at that man. I just wonder how many women look at a man and look at that quality of kindness in him. I'm sure many do. So that's all this video was. It's not very long, just something to think about and ask ourselves, are we a kind person and versus a nice person? And to look at that. And I keep working on it myself in speaking up and don't fall back into the nice guy syndrome. I don't want to ever have to hear people say, Jim, you're too nice. I don't want to ever have to hear that ever again. And I think that if we keep in mind that kindness versus niceness, and be kind, and kind with our families. Sometimes it's not easy. Being kind at work, around your coworkers, your friends, and choosing kindness, even when they mistreat you, and how easy it is to want to fight back if somebody starts mistreating you or saying some unpleasant things to you. And so you want to maybe say things that are unkind, and sometimes responding in kindness will diffuse oftentimes a situation. I think that's even in the Bible. A gentle answer turns away wrath. And some people don't know how to react to that when they're in your face and you're in their whatever, yelling at you or belittling you or whatever, and you respond to them in kind. You can just simply say, nod your head. Okay, you got anything else? Are you finished? Well, thank you very much for your opinion. Things like that. So you don't necessarily have to get into a fight with somebody when they start getting negative towards you. So that was all. I liked that in that person's yard when I was running by. In a world that you can be anything, be kind. Until the next one.